It has been nearly 10 years in Teknopat for me. Before that, I was in Chip Burda Group. It's a German publishing group that took hold in Turkey. Later, we went independent way. So we are one of the first publishers in Turkey to discover power of video, actually. So it has been a good journey for us. It's my first time meeting with you, and thank you for being here, and thank you for taking this interview. It will be a different kind of content for our Turkish viewers. They like seeing CEOs and other high-end decision makers, and they want to, of course, some questions answered, like your product strategy, how it's going to affect them in this region. And these are the questions basically I'm going to ask. By the way, thank you for the great presentation for the ACER team, of course. You have unveiled your new products, especially the 3D screen seems like a talking point for many people now. It was a technology we forgot about, but with the new 3D screen that doesn't require 3D viewing glasses, people are going to go back to it. For example, 3D modeling, other high-end project makers, you know, designers and other people. So first of all, I want to ask you, what's the focus point, main point for ACER for 2022?
So I think, of course, you know, in the current situation, supply is still something that you know,
yes,
we focus a lot on. I think we're as an industry, we're somewhat fortunate that, you know, during the time of COVID, I think people needed PCs. I think it has been widely documented already, and supply became very, very challenging. In part also because on some components we compete with other industry, and you know, I think we see the car industry, we see phones, we see a lot of devices that used to have very little number of chips or integrated circuit now have a lot, and that has created some challenges. So I would say we're very, very focused first in honoring, you know, our order, our backlog, in continuing to ship everywhere in every country. So we're not, you know, doing allocation that would squeeze any country. We really try to do this.
Yes.
Then, of course, when it comes to product strategy, I think you've seen probably one of the main focal point where we have, you know, next year and in the midterm, to be fair, is around sustainability. I think we know that many companies take this seriously. We're not the only one. I think we try to behave, of course, ourselves as a good citizen and you know, make sure we commit on using renewable energy, limited carbon emission, recycling. But we really wanted to push it one level further and bring this sustainable value chain and products to the market. And really, again, we're not the only one, but we want to make it as a true corporate strategy. So not just having a few products that are green, but you've seen today, I think we already launched a product 6 months ago, but now we believe this becomes a full range, including commercial, desktop, monitors, you know, more products. And, you know, is it going to become almost systematic eventually? Maybe. I mean, not immediately. It takes time. But we would like to be a little bit an example in the industry of taking that to not just good intention and goodwill and doing our part, but really as a sustainable business strategy and a differentiator that, you know, we help the world use more responsible products. And of course, if you look at the product themselves, they use a lot of you know, post-consumer plastics, some, you know, less inks. I think some recycled carton in the packaging, but also we want to make them more durable, easier to repair, upgradable. So it's also the lifetime of the product itself that we believe needs to get longer so that it's more sustainable. Because of course, even your product is taking all the right step to have the minimum impact on the planet. If you can use it for a longer time, it's even better. So this you will really see as a corporate strategy.
Yes, it's quite interesting. There are many things I would like to ask about it. Previously asked many times about upgradability, repairability, and sustainability of the devices. Not because only we are in the EMEA region and the computers tend to be used a lot longer time than, for example, United States consumer actions are different and Turkey consumer actions are different. We use our computers a longer time. Most of us do. So repair and upgradability, especially RAM upgradability, is important because when you are going out buying a PC, a laptop, a system, the configuration changes the price quite drastically. So getting it a little bit cheaper, but on the long run, upgrading it is a fine solution for many Turkish users. But of course, there are different knowledge bases. Not all consumers know how to upgrade them. So in the previous time when we talked with Sema about it, she told us the service centers are offering upgrades now. So it was a good thing back then. So seeing it getting on a grander scale is very good because, at the base of the chip crisis, you have close ties with Taiwan. Of course, you know it better than us. The water shortage and the climate change has quite drastically affected the production of the chips necessary. For car industry, they are still using 80 nanometer chips. It's quite a different story. All factories are closing down and the priority goes to better nanometer factories. But it's quite good to see this kind of launch from Acer because it's a Taiwanese original company, but in Turkey it's perceived as a European country. And this launch, this event, and everything you are talking about seems more European. They have a green goal in their heads. They want to reduce the carbon emissions to zero. They want to recycle everything, and it's the only way to go that we can see in the future. So I greatly agree, and I'm glad to hear those strategies from you. So chip crisis, and in the long term, making everything recyclable, they go hand to hand. So they're very close goals.
Exactly. No, I fully agree with you. I think this is something very, very, very important. And you made a good point that the industry went a little bit towards super thin and whether it's phone, whether in PC, and that was going a little bit against upgradability because then the motherboards become very smaller. A lot of things are mounted on the motherboards. I think this is why there's a little bit, those two trends are a little bit difficult to reconciliate. But on these products, we really try to go back to what can be upgraded, the memory, and make more standard components as much as possible. And again, we fully agree with you. I mean, we believe if you do the right thing for the planet, it will be good for the company.
Yes, they go hand to hand, as I said. So even if you keep profits in the mind, it is not against protecting the nature. In the long term, I want people to understand that. So that's why I'm asking these questions in interviews and giving them a little bit of time in every video. So people will come to realize that it's not against their better future. So you have a lot of products, actually. Monitors, projectors, PCs, laptops, and we can see the product portfolio growing exponentially. There are many submodels. You want to reach, of course, many different areas in the world, so it takes a lot of customization. On the other hand, you have talked, there are different kinds of things going on. For example, on one hand, we see Acer Swift series. On the other hand, we see Acer Aspire series. One is thinner for those customers. So I'm taking it that you will always be going for the next thin PC, but on the other hand, you will be presenting upgradable PCs, and you are going to not leave that behind, but make it grow better.
No, I fully agree. Again, I think we've really made a statement that embracing green, and again, we encourage our competition to do the same, by the way. We don't pretend, but because the reality is today, a green PC like the Vero to build, to manufacture is a little bit slightly more expensive than a standard PC because, all those processes are not standard. So it's not a lot more, so it's affordable. It's not like the end user will have to suffer a lot to acquire those products. But eventually, if the entire industry embraces those supply chain, first, it will push the envelope further, and two, it will bring down the cost of doing so. So that's, again, we're very systematic in doing this. And we really take that as 360, as I said. I think we talk about supply chain also. The only way for us to make products like this is to embrace supply chain. So for example, in the Vero, the panel itself is 99% recyclable. But we had to work with a specific panel vendor to make that happen, and so we have this program called Earthion that really brings supply chain together to deliver this. And eventually we even want to work with our retail partners to say, if you're going to deliver to the end user, can you use electric truck? It will take time, but can it be end to end? From really almost the chemistry of the product itself, the components you use to deliver at the door of the end user. Can we have a supply chain that really try to be as green as possible? And I think if you achieve this, at least if you make it a corporate strategy and a corporate goal, I think you will never be perfect, but the chance that you lead the industry are high, and we see that as, again, our very important piece of our strategy. Of course, you've seen today, gaming is still a very important part of our strategy. So, green will be one vector, gaming will be another one that will continue to push on performance. But all, addressing those different type of, I wouldn't call them niche. I mean, they're big, but this is also important to, have a sustainable business, is to be able to branch in those different areas.
For gaming, in the last years, all the trend was going gaming, and each company tried to grow their portfolio of gaming products. So we have seen a lot of competing gaming products. For example, higher screen, higher refresh rate screens, better viewing, better panels, for example, better keyboards, or in the short, better performance, better FPS in games. Do you think this trend is in any way slowing down, or is it being shadowed by chip shortage, or the demand is getting even higher? What does numbers say to you? Because if I take a look at comments, gaming is going all the way and it's going to still grow very fast.
I think I was even surprised myself. First, when the pandemic started 2 years ago, people say, okay, people will need essential PC to work from home and to do education. And at the end, gaming demand was super strong because people were also stranded at home and they needed to entertain themselves. If you cannot go to outside, you cannot go to restaurants, you cannot to movies. So gaming was strong. If I look this year now, the PC market is still good, but let's say starting to be flattish to even slightly down, at least the consumer part. I mean, corporate part is picking up a little bit, but consumer part is slowing down if you take GfK numbers. But gaming is still up year on year versus last year, which was already incredible. So gaming seems unstoppable. I think performance get higher and higher. The shortage of components, you said it at the beginning of the interview, you're absolutely right. The shortage doesn't come from the latest technology. The gating factor, everything is a little bit short. But the gating factor today is not the latest CPU or the latest graphic cards necessarily, as it is to old-fashioned, video controller or a power supply controller. I mean, those that are a little bit older technology. But you're right, because newer technology, that's where the investment goes, and people still want to come with best and latest and greatest. So there is a race now between the two CPU vendors, so they challenge each other like never before.
But
so
it seems
I believe we'll continue to be amazed. Yes.
It seems like we are going to get out of it stronger. For example, all the manufacturing plants were located in Taiwan, high-end, high technology. For example, Intel's factory was in a specific location in Israel, and other companies were in all Asia. But now we are seeing United States making its factories, and in other regions we are seeing other high-tech factories are being built, and people are being trained. Of course, you cannot just build a factory and expect it to produce those chips on themselves. The educated, highly trained personnel shortage in the long term for these manufacturing processes to go on board will still go on. But strategically speaking, it will be harder to break the logistic chain in the future, it seems. After building this kind of other factories, after these investments, it seems like we will be looking at a better, more secure future for the chips and production. Do you agree, or do you think it is still very far away and it will take a long time?
This kind of relocalization, I've been in talk for 20 years, but let's say in reality, they never truly happened because, as you said, supply chain only became more efficient and more efficient and more efficient, always a little bit undermining the economics or relocalization. I think you made a right point that now COVID and the current logistic situation and maybe also some geopolitics situation, are forcing the industry to rethink a little bit the dependence on logistics. So I think it will happen, but let's also not underestimate that the people that hold those factories today will also eventually become super competitive themselves. I mean, we'll find. So I think this it will take a little bit of time, but I do agree with you. I think the intention is there, and I think the necessity becomes a little bit, the politics now is not just economics; it's politics also, and this will make a difference.
Yes, I hope it makes a difference in the long run, but we are still going to, especially the consumers are still going to ask for cheaper prices, and I know that you know that, so there will be perhaps a lot more competition on the supply side. I hope so, for the consumer's sake. So let me check my other questions. We have been over chip crisis, and we have been over 2022 vision. Its sustainability. Gaming is still going great, and configurations of devices and design is my other question. For example, gaming is still going strong, but we have seen other Acer concepts like Concept D in the past year, and it has gained a specific niche attraction. Yes, as you said, it's not niche, it's a quite big market for designers, for producers, for makers, but it seems to me that maker culture trend just vanished too quickly. For example, in Turkey, a few brands just made a few launches about makers and about producers, about designers, and it was forgotten after all these things. Are you still going to go strong on Concept D, for example, NVIDIA Studio laptops and other products that specifically target people doing, for example, 3D design? I know you have a 3D screen and a special product for that, but I'm asking for more, and if you have any information on that.
No, we're very, very committed to this Concept D. It's we acknowledge that gaming is definitely not a niche anymore. Education, Chromebook, for example. I mean, I know Chromebook is not big in Turkey yet because it's not an official approved Google country, even though a lot of private schools and other places still sell. But those I wouldn't call niche anymore. I mean, once you reach 10-15% of the total PC market, I think you're a part. I think Concept D, on the contrary, is truly a niche, and will remain a niche. But niche is also your ability to address niche is part of being sustainable, because this is also where there is probably more margin to make. I mean, you address specific needs, and people are usually willing to pay for fulfilling those needs because they acknowledge that it's not normal. So. And I think this is one place where we can innovate. I think we innovate with the Spatial Lab. We innovate with the Inge. We have our famous Easel Inge, which allow different usage model. So, considering in the PC industry, there's no secret. Some of the technology, CPUs, graphic cards, I mean, they don't come from the vendors themselves. They come from partners.
Yes.
So, how do you differentiate? I think in gaming is very clear. Is thermal is very important. Can you have, and we have a lot of patent, and we innovate a lot on the cooling systems and those, because those can make a difference. The same CPU in two different systems may have different performance.
Exactly.
And this is where Acer has value add. And I think Concept D, we see a place where, we can truly innovate. Of course, to make it sustainable, it needs to be a minimum volume, even it's a niche. And but we've been encouraged by our volumes there. We definitely see growth year on year from low base, but we see nice growth. We see more and more people embracing. And again, we believe Spatial Lab, once this feature can become a little bit more mainstream, it's still a little bit expensive and still takes a little bit of skill to use. Let's put it this way. I think it's mind-boggling when you know how to use it. It's incredible. Genuinely, if you've seen one of those systems. But of course, to truly deliver the value, you need to be a little bit of a geek.
Yes.
And I think those things we continue to try to make it more simple, to embrace a bigger number of partners, so it's a little bit more out of the box. But we like that creator space. I think it's really where you have very demanding people, and you can really deliver value to them.
Yes, they are quite different groups of cultures, and they each have specific needs. I want to ask one final question about all this, and with those events we have seemed to forget them. But are you considering, for example, other than Intel, AMD, NVIDIA chips, are you considering RISC-V or other rising trends for ARM-like RISC architectures for next generation of computers? For example, our team is a bit geek, of course. We are searching for low power consumption, high performance systems, and they seem like a way to go in many computers. I don't want to give too many examples from other brands, but like using ARM-like RISC chips in laptops is a proven concept now. It has been in talks for many years. So can we expect any association or announcement or any other thing from Acer, or are your engineering teams experimenting, considering these things? Is there anything you can share with us?
No, I think not only we're experimenting and considering, but we have products already. Yeah. So, of course, our Chrome lineup had been using ARM for some time.
Yes.
I think we had the MediaTek CPU there and others, yes. But even our Windows lineup now has two products using Qualcomm CPUs. Exactly. So, and I think as you say, it's working. Of course, if 5G becomes a factor in PCs, which could be the case, I mean, so far, I mean, we've seen PC with 3G or 4G never really took off. Let's put it this way. It was never big. But it's also true that 5G on paper can deliver much more than Wi-Fi, which 4G couldn't. So if it's the case, it's possible that 5G becomes a factor. Then I think it will be a natural place for the ARM camp, to be 5G plus ARM, because they know how to do it. So yes, we're watching carefully. 3 or 4 years ago, whoever tried was not a success.
Yes.
But I agree with you. Now, one company is proving that it definitely can grow very fast.
You see, it's in the server market too now. It's even used in the server market. That's what I was asking for, actually. But in Turkey, we are very late for 5G. Perhaps we are going to go into 5G across, according to latest government announcements. But we cannot take them. We cannot trust the schedule. So we are not sure if it's going to be. And many people I'm talking about 5G are saying it's mainly for factories, IoT devices, and other industry users. So perhaps we will see most of it in 6G or going forward. China launched a 6G satellite. They are testing with it right now. We don't have all the details. But as I understand it, you are seeing it as a type of connected devices like thing. And connecting with the
I think
servers.
At the beginning, I believe we will see it more as a potential 5G play. At least it will be probably a little bit high end on 5G, because I believe this technology is not yet going to deliver the best performance. So I think it's more for people that need permanent connection, or they need. But in the past, I would say the user adoption or the consumer adoption was not so strong. But lately, I agree. It looks like we see more products and that deliver potential. So it will play. I don't believe it's going to be taking over very soon, but it will become a factor. I think I fully agree with you.
Perhaps we need the correct software for it. If the Chrome and Turkey is not a Google approved country, we don't see Pixel here, we don't see Chromebooks here. We need perhaps another operating system for it, like Android for PC or something like that. So thank you for answering that question too. It was perhaps one of the hardest, because it requires sometimes talking about things not announced by the engineering team, or something not ready to share with the press yet. So I understand your reluctance in there. but no problem. Do you have any message you want to share with our Turkish viewers before we close?
No, I really want to say again that we're actually very happy with our business in Turkey. I think we do a lot of gaming products over there, so we see a big demand for gaming in Turkey. We see a potential in the market. You're right. It's not a Chrome country today, but eventually, I believe it will become. I cannot speak for Google themselves, but I think Google has ambition. So. For us, we continue to see, the entire region as potential for big growth and a nice to put investment there. So again, thanks for your support in making ACER visible in Turkey.
Thank you.
And look forward maybe to see you in person one day.
I hope so. We would like to see you in Turkey as we see your products and your improvement in gaming devices, coolers, for example, in the last 5 years, they have improved drastically and we are seeing better results. So I'm looking forward to seeing your new products, new announcements, and one day, as you said, in person yourself. Thank you very much for this interview and answering questions.